welcome to Pathways to Planning. You are all part of the new cohort of our Pathways to Planning programme. So the third cohort who are going through this journey. I'm Kat Salter. I work as part of the Planning Advisory Service, and I am responsible for leading the learning and development part of the Pathways to Planning programme. So you would have seen various emails from me about today, and you'll get them in the future about the L&D events that will be running over the next few months for you all, and further details will follow today in today's presentation. So this is the agenda. So first of all, just welcome and introductions. I'll introduce you to those from both the LGA Planning Advisory Service, and we also have Tilly and Matt, who are in the cohort above you on Pathways to Planning, who'll be talking to you a bit later about how to make the most of the programme. So before that, we'll have an introduction from Anna Rose, who leads the Planning Advisory Service, otherwise known as PAS, about working in local government. So really just setting the scene for you about why local government is such a fantastic place to work and how you can support your career as you go forward in the public sector. We'll then have an overview of the Pathways to Planning Learning and Development programme. So a whole range of different CPD opportunities. We have bespoke really for those of you on Pathways to Planning that will help you to extend your learning across, and it kind of sits in between the academic study you're doing and also the on-the-job learning as well. As I said, we've got Tilly and Matt joining us from the year above, and they'll be trying to sort of settle you into the programme. So giving an overview of what to expect from Pathways to Planning and some top tips as to how to make the most of the programme. There'll be plenty of time and opportunities for questions. I'll put a slide up in a second where you're welcome to put your questions in, but you can also use Teams as well. Can I just ask everybody to just mute themselves if that's okay? I'm just getting a little bit background noise.
If there is someone called Noah.
Or are we able to find who's speaking and mute them?
He should be on it, I think.
Okay, hopefully that's now working. So before I introduce myself fully, I'm actually going to hand over to Anna Buttonshaw to introduce herself first, and then Lorraine, and then I'll tell you a bit more about me.
Fab, thanks Kat, and just to add to Kat, a very warm welcome to Pathways to Planning for all of you in cohort 3. So my name is Anna Buttonshaw, not to be mistaken for Anna Rose, who you'll hear from later. Don't ask me any really specific questions about planning, you've got the wrong Anna, but the right Anna soon to come. I'm the program manager for Pathways to Planning, so I oversee the program as a whole, from all the logistics and the funding, and manage the team who deliver the marketing and the recruitment, and we're so delighted on Pathways to Planning to have such a strong partnership with the Planning Advisory Service. So the input from Anna Rose and colleagues from CAT on your learning and development program really does set us apart, I think. So yes, that's me. Usually in your time on the program, you'll only hear from me if you're in a bit of a hard patch, you need any support, then that will usually come my way. But of course, I do love to hear from graduates anytime. So I will hand over to Lorraine next.
Hi everyone. Sorry, I've got a bit of a cold. So my name's Lorraine and I'm the Programme Support Officer for Pathways to Planning. So welcome everyone. It's really nice to see everybody here today. So you probably have seen a couple of communications from me and my colleague Steph. So if you have any sort of questions around anything really, I'm actually going to put it into the chat now. Sorry, you should email pathways.planning, the usual inbox address. But as for now, enjoy the session and welcome everybody.
Great, thank you, Lorraine and Anna. So as I said, I am leading the L&D part of the Pathways to Planning programme. And there's various reasons for that. I am a chartered town planner. I actually did my master's degree part-time alongside working. So I'm not going to tell you how many years ago, but many years ago, I was in the same boat as many of you. And I actually started my job the same week as university. And I remember by the time I got to Friday, I had no idea which way was up. I fully appreciate there's lots of new learning you'll be engaged in, and it can feel pretty overwhelming the first couple of weeks as you settle in. But I got through it. I am now a chartered town planner, and I've had a really varied career to date, working in a whole raft of different areas of planning, but started very much in local government, and it really set me up as for a career in planning, and then enabled me to work my way through central government, third sector, statutory consultee, period of time in academia, and now I'm delighted to be with PAS. So alongside having experience of learning and working, I also led and established the Chartered Town Planner degree apprenticeship at the University of Birmingham. So I've seen it from both sides, really, as a student myself and also leading that programme. And I really do believe that the best way of learning about planning is through working and studying consecutively. It's going to be a lot. I know it's going to be hard at times, but that combination of learning the theory and then applying that in practice and having that kind of joint learning and oversight will really, really help you to develop the foundations of a career in planning and to progress as well. I think it's really exciting, the programme that you're on. And I think that the modules you'll be doing and learning about the different components of the planning system, and during this time of change as well, I don't think we can avoid hearing about how planning is going to undergo a series of reforms over the coming months, and the government very much have the planning system at the heart of their kind of ambition to help to solve the housing crisis and get us as a country kind of growing economically as well. What I would say, just some kind of top tips from me, I guess, and I know we're going to hear from Matt and Tilly a bit later about how they manage things. But what I would say is that time management is going to be absolutely key for you over the next couple of years. And it may be particularly challenging as you hit deadlines for your university assignments. So what I would suggest there is that you try and plan your work in advance and also make the most of the opportunity you have by working in practice, by talking to your line manager and colleagues and seeing if you can use any experience you're gaining on the job to help you with the academic course as well. So are there ways to link any assignments, for instance? Could you ask your colleagues for their insights or suggestions of additional reading or case studies or things to bring your essays to life? So don't panic, be kind to yourself and allow yourself time to settle into both your new role, university course, and the pathways to planning as well. In terms of sources of advice and assistance, as Anna and Lorraine have both said, here at the LGA and PAS, we are available to support you. So if you do have any issues or concerns, please do reach out to the Pathways to Planning team. Your HR department at the council as well may be able to offer assistance if you do run into any teething problems. And the university as well. They'll have a whole raft of support. Many of you may have been assigned a personal tutor. You will have the programme director leading the master's or the degree apprenticeship. And there are other sources as well. So one department that I used to direct students to all the time was actually in the library. So I used to work at University of Birmingham, and in the library they had an entire team who were called the Academic Skills Department, who could help students with tips, for example, on time management, note-taking, referencing, and in some instances also actually look at draft essays. So I'd suggest you really familiarise yourself with what the university can offer as well to help you settle into your course. And if you are struggling in terms of stress or anxiety or any health issues, there'll also be a health and wellbeing team at the university there who can offer support as well. This isn't in any way to put you off. It's not saying that you'll need this support. It's very much just saying that if you do find it challenging, please do reach out to the appropriate avenue as you progress over the next couple of years. As I said, I think that what you're doing is absolutely fantastic. I think it is the way forward in terms of planning education and is really going to help support the planning sector. I think planning is an absolutely fantastic career to engage with. And it really is, I'm going to sound really bold here, but I really do believe that you have a role in changing the world and how people live, work, and play. And it's a profession where you can make a real impact. So that's enough from me. So you've heard from the PAS and the LGA, but I'd like to find out a little bit more about all of you. So what we've done is we've set up a Slido with just a few questions here, just to see who's in the room and how you're feeling about your journey on Pathways to Planning. So for those of you who are familiar with Slido, the easiest way to get into this is to use your mobile phones to scan the QR code on the left, and then that will take you to a poll. And if you don't have your phones with you or you can't use the QR code function, then you can join by going to slido.com, and then the meeting, the joining number, that's the way we call it, is 2113408. I'm going to stop sharing, and so we can have a look at what's coming through. How's it looking, Lorraine?
Just going to share my, I think I need to share my screen. That would help, wouldn't it?
If you can do.
Everyone's, well, I'll say you can see my screen.
Yes.
Fantastic. This is the first time, so it's worked.
So we couldn't get this working last week, so I'm fingers crossed we will be able to today. But I thought the results would come up here, Lorraine, but then they're not. Do we need to? There we go. Okay, so yeah, so the results aren't showing here. So, but if I go kind of back office, I can see that it keeps changing. 28% of you are from London, 16% from the southeast. We've got a high contingency from the West Mids. So 16% from the West Mids, 7% from East Mids, 11% East of England, only 4% from Southwest, and there's nobody from Yorkshire and Humber, which is very disappointing. I've just moved up north. I live between Leeds and Bradford, so maybe I can be the representation from Yorkshire and Humber today. But as you can see, this is just really to highlight that we've got graduates from all across the country, so it's very widespread across all parts of England. And also, do we have anybody from Wales? Yes, we've got some people from Wales as well, which is great to see. My first job was Neathport Talbot Council, and I lived in Cardiff for a while, so I've got a really, really strong affinity for Wales.
So I can't seem to move this out the way. It looks like I'm just covering Wales, and I'm trying not to actually just the whole presentation.
It's fine. Do you want?
But I can see that there's something that's happened here.
Should we move on to the next one, Lorraine?
Oh, there we go. Let's go to the next one.
Ah, yes, cloudy and grey.
There's a theme.
There is a theme. Before we joined the call, we were actually having a chat about the different shades of grey and how we just seem to be in this this kind of period of time before, I guess, we get proper wintry. But yes, it's mildly threatening. Ooh, okay, that sounds a bit a bit interesting. But I also like the response we've got there from whoever is in Manchester, saying surprisingly okay for Manchester. So that's great. So yeah, so I think we can all agree wherever we are, it's a mixture between cloudy, grey, and grim.
Except there's a bit of blue sky at the bottom, Kat, and I wonder whether that's our other person who's in the northeast. So I live in Newcastle. So is there maybe that's the northeast delegation? I've got blue sky out my window.
There we go. We all see it's better up north. Brilliant, thank you. And then let's see. Undergraduate degrees. Oh, that's really interesting. Okay. I guess geography is the highest. I always find that there's an assumption that when you are a planner, you have a background in geography, and this highlights that that's not necessarily the case. Many of you have studied geography, but we've also got history, politics, sociology, philosophy, economics. Oh, some French and Japanese. Wow, that's an interesting one. I know the Japanese. Oh, we've got some, that's amazing. Got some Japanese speakers on the call. That's fantastic. Economics, quite a few sociology. This is brilliant. So a really, really diverse mix of experiences here, and not all related to planning. So that hopefully this is sort of putting you at ease that you don't need to be entering the planning profession with any kind of knowledge and background in planning or geography. It is very much you'll have transferable skills and knowledge sets that you can apply. And again, Matt and Tilly will come on and explain their backgrounds. I don't have a geography background. I actually studied environmental sciences. And my A levels, much to I mean, I can't believe this now, but my A levels were chemistry and biology. I did do geography A level, but I've somehow got into planning from a science background. So again, I think you'll have all these different knowledge and skills that you can apply to the program, and it's really interesting to see. So thank you so much for telling us about your background. And I'm really jealous of the languages. Actually, languages aren't a strong point of mine, but I love the fact that more than one of you are Japanese speakers, which is fab. And then I think the next one. Fantastic. So in terms of pathways to planning, there are two different educational routes. So there's the master's degree. So that could be a Master's of Science, an MSc, or an MA, Masters of Arts, or we also run the level 7 degree apprenticeship. So I just wanted to get a feel of who's in the room from those two different pathways. The main difference, well, there are actually quite a few differences. You will all come out with a fully accredited degree that will enable you to apply to become a chartered member of the Royal Town Planning Institute. At the degree apprenticeship, you have another qualification in there, which is the Chartered Town Planner degree apprenticeship. But I'm not going to go into any detail because I'm just going to confuse you all and myself if I start to try and explain the differences between these programs. But really good to see we've got representation from both. Then I think, is it the final question, Laurie? How you feel? Oh, this is good. I like this. Excellent. Excited and determined. Eager. I'm just going to pick out all the positive ones. Let's go with that and get everybody even more excited. Content, excited to meet new people, lots of learning, absolutely. And hopefully through today, you'll get some tips on how to manage all of that. Optimistic, buzzing, curious. Excellent. I can see as well there's some apprehension here as well, and it's like some of you are daunted, but hopefully through today we'll put hopefully put you at ease and make you feel a bit more comfortable, and hopefully get you onto the excited end of the spectrum about pathways to planning. Fantastic. I think everybody's finished with that now, so I'll go back to the presentation. Thanks for sharing that, Lorraine. That's really useful and really great to have so many of you interact with and talk to us. These online environments I find are always quite hard, but so thank you very much for your engagement there as well. And if you do have any questions as we go through, please do either put them in Slido, so in what you were just in, or do put them in the chat on Teams, and we'll pick them up as we go through. Don't think we've had anything so far, but it'd be really, really good if just to hear from you all. Great. Okay, let's go back. And I think it's over to you, Anna, Rose.
Yeah, it's always quite confusing for people when they've got both myself and Anna Buttonshaw in the room, because we both work in the same area of the LGA, but yet, as Anna says, have very different backgrounds. So Welcome. And I always like to say congratulations. I think it's worth having a pinch yourself moment sometimes when you get through these schemes, because as with all graduate programs, you're going into a pot of like thousands of people and becoming the people who are chosen. And I think let's congratulate you all on working that hard to get through that process and coming out the other end and getting your positions. However you're feeling at the moment, you should be really proud of yourselves for getting to this point. So as graduates, joining the public sector, it's both challenging, but it's deeply rewarding. I have worked in the public sector since my early 20s, and I'm one of those people who has done a planning degree, done a planning master's, and has every planning position known to man on my CV. So I am breaking the rules that Kat's just talked about, because I've gone through a fairly traditional route. But I am so passionate about the public sector and about planning in the public sector. I have worked as a director in local government, managing these services and leading teams of really talented people who are getting to the roots of how do you deliver on a council's ambition? How do you reach out to communities and find out what their ambitions are? And how do you work in partnership with your council colleagues, your communities, and the councillors in your area to deliver on that? It's really, really exciting, and that's what came out on that last Slido. That you're right to be excited, because you're on the brink of starting a career that has real impact. So for me, local government is where planning becomes really real, because you're working in a multifaceted organisation that has a lot of claims on its time, and you're there for the place delivery. And planning is not just about those national policies or those policies in the council. It's about so much more than that. And really, when you work in planning in local government, you're making decisions that are making a real difference in people's lives. So you might hear names like the National Planning Policy Framework or the local plan, and there'll be loads of terminology flying at you. But remember that the career you're just starting is so much more than policy. It's so much more than documents. Yes, they're important. Yes, you will have to know them, but don't let them govern you. Because planning, if anything, is about interpretation, it's about judgment, and above anything else, it's about delivery. And that's what local government is really, really good at, is delivering. So what do councils offer you as a planner, or as anybody working in the public sector? I think for me, they offer variety. So when I talk to my private sector colleagues, and then I compare it to my network of public sector people, what we always say is that you never quite know what you're going to be working on. And there's a joy in that, because it's not the same thing every day. It might be the same process, but the things you're dealing with will have all sorts of different contexts. And that makes life interesting. You can also be working on something that's completely unrelated to your main job, and you can be brought into a whole different world. I don't think you get that anywhere else. You get to collaborate with people, not just at your own level in different areas of the council, so housing, transport, adults, children, but also you get to deal with councillors, you get to deal with senior officers, and you get to be playing in a pool of people that I don't think you have access to in any other environment in a graduate setting. But above all, you have the ability to make a real impact. I don't think there's any other role where you can go to work, you can do your job, and you can see what you've done on the ground. You can feel the difference you've made to other people. You can hear the feedback. I think there's something really special about that. But it's not straightforward. I'd be wrong if I sat here and said, and it's a dream, it's smooth, you'll never have any hiccups. It's complex. You're dealing with politics, and it's politics at a very local level. And all I can say from working in politics at a national level and working in politics at a local level is that local is more intense. So local politics doesn't just involve councillors, it involves communities, and it's played out very strongly in planning. So planning is where emotions run quite high, quite a lot of decisions are made in planning that affect how people vote in a local area. And whilst that is interesting to work in, it can also feel quite tense at times, and it's worth being aware of that. Pace. When I say this, I think, oh gosh, I hope people don't think I mean fast, because actually local government can be very slow. And the reason it's very slow is because it's democratic. It is about making decisions that are meeting the public's demands, their wants, their needs. And for that, you have to go through due diligence. You have to make sure you're making the right decisions. And therefore, it can feel quite slow and stodgy. And engagement. Planning is very much about engaging with people. And sometimes you're engaging with people who aren't very happy. And so it's weathering those storms and learning how to mediate, to mitigate, to have the right conversations and to listen to what those people are saying. So what will you be bringing and why shouldn't you worry? I like this bit because actually anybody who's in your position will have already proven they can write. And part of this is all about being clear in your communications. So you'll have gone through university, you will be able to write. You'll be able to speak confidently because you'll have done those sorts of academic exercises that test those skills. Hopefully you'll have learned to listen actively. Can you sit back and not jump in? Can you really take in what people are saying? Because that's what public sector is all about. It's about listen, absorb, engage, and then make your decision. But above all, I think what you will get from having done your first degrees and from your masters is the ability to stay curious. So when I have interviewed people for roles in local government, what I'm always looking for is, are they curious? Have they got the ability to think beyond what they've done and what they could be, about what is the art of the possible? And that's what I'd encourage you all to do. Keep your academic rigor around testing and questioning what you're hearing, because that will make you really, really useful in a local government setting. And so, coming back to the purpose of planning, I think it's useful to set this in the context of what planning is all about. And planning is about stories, it's about narrative, it's about getting engaged in the emotions of people and places. And behind every planning application or policy is a story. And it's a story that you're going to need to understand. And it might be very local in terms of a family that needs a home, a business that's looking to grow, a community that wants better facilities. Or it could be quite macro. So it could be about an area that needs greater employment opportunities. It could be about the health needs of a certain demographic. But there is a story that sits behind everything that you're going to do in local government. Allowing yourself to understand the stories and the narrative that sits behind some of these decisions is going to allow you to connect to them. And when you connect all those stories together, what you begin to build is that shared vision for the place. And that's what planners do best, is that we listen, we engage, we understand, and then we share a vision of what happens in that place. And I think as a graduate, that's what I'd encourage you to do, is listen to the stories. But it is a busy time, Kat mentioned this. So what have we got coming over the hill? We've got planning reform. Now, planning reform in itself is constant. So I try not to get overly excited about it. It happens all the time and it will never stop happening. So if people say to you, oh gosh, there's a lot happening at the moment, I can guarantee you, and I have sat around the tables with them probably 20 years ago when they were still saying the same thing. So don't let planning reform worry you. Planning reform should make things better And if it doesn't, you'll be fine. Nothing bad will happen as a result of planning reform. That is the government's way of changing it to their own direction. What is probably bigger is local government reform and reorganisation, because that will change the boundaries in which you're working, make bigger councils potentially, but also take planning up to a bigger level. And it's worth being interested in local government reorganisation. Why do I say that? Because being interested in the politics and the wider scale of local government will help you to relate that to your own area in the council. And being able to understand why things are happening and what might happen next secures a personal resilience for you, because then you won't need to fear what's about to happen. You will understand it and you will understand your place in it. And that's the advice I give to people that I mentor. It's also the advice I give to my children, who are probably not a dissimilar age to a lot of you. So it's about understanding, getting the knowledge, and then feeling secure in what you know. The thing that I think is quite exciting, though, for people of your generation, certainly, is the move to digital. Local government, for those of you who have found yourselves in councils and thought, oh, yeah, we could do probably with a bit more of the smartphone technology that we use in our personal lives. It is coming, and it's coming at speed. And the government want all councils to be fully digitalised, within this parliament. So your knowledge and your fresh ideas and all your experience to date that people in different generations don't have is going to be invaluable as the public sector moves into the modern age in terms of some of the things it's doing. So you're going to be leading this transformation in local government. I know it might not feel like it at the moment as you're sat there dealing with an application or looking at retail plans or whatever you're doing in your council. It might not feel very transformational and life-changing. But I suppose what I'm going to say to you is that anybody who's in planning has been there, has been in the positions that you're in now. And many of us could tell you that that is just the very start. What you can do is move quite quickly, actually, compared to a lot of industries, all the way through the tiers. And you will find yourself in charge of the very things that you think you're struggling with at the moment. And I think that's a lovely thing about local government. I think progression happens relatively quickly. So bring your fresh thinking, bring your new skills. I think it's very exciting that we've got so many different undergraduate degrees. But on top of that, you will have very different life experiences. So your degree is just one factor of who you are. The other part is your lived experience. Bring your lived experience, let that shine through in your work, because your lived circumstances are really relevant to the field you've chosen to work in. So I'll leave you with this. One day, if you continue to work in planning in local government, you'll walk through the neighbourhood where you work, and you will have helped to shape how people live, work, and go about their business. And you'll be able to say, I played a part in making that happen. And I don't know that I can say that about anywhere else. And that is really, really special. Welcome, well done, and good luck.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Anna. I was going to try and, I'm going to give you, I thought that was really interesting, really inspiring. Thank you so much for coming to talk to our grads. And I absolutely agree with everything you said, which is fantastic. Do we have any questions for Anna? Can I put you on the spot and see if anybody's got any questions? Yes, so we've got a hand up. So Zamzam, do you want to unmute? And was that meant to be a hand or was that a clap? Have I just... you sitting there in horror now, thinking that I'm going to call on you and unmute you and make you talk? It's gone down pretty quickly. Yes, I thought so, actually. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to just embarrass you. I will not. I will not unmute you and make you speak to us. Do we have any questions at all? Has anything come through Slido, Lorraine? No. Okay. All sitting quietly for the moment. Okay, well, I will carry on and then maybe you'll come up with some questions as we continue. So the next thing to talk to you today is the Learning and Development Programme. So you are obviously going to be learning and developing throughout the next 2 years. You are going to be learning in your job role and also obviously during your academic studies as well. But to supplement this learning, PAS alongside the LGA, we also offer a learning and development programme bespoke for you to help you meet your learning needs and to sit between everything else that you're learning about. So the programme at the moment comprises 4 main aspects, and I'll go through each of these in turn. The first one of which is an e-learning package. We then offer monthly CPD seminars, quarterly away days, and I've also pulled together a list of other CPD opportunities that you may wish to explore. The emphasis on learning and development will also continue once you're chartered, if you do go down the chartership route, because it's a profession that is ever changing. Anna's touched on the local government reform and planning reform. There are always new ideas, new case studies to learn from, new decisions that are made within planning, and it's important as a planning professional that we keep up to date, and we'll help you with that alongside the support that we offer. So what is the e-learning package we're talking about? So this has been designed by an external consultancy and it's called An Introduction to Planning as a Career. So it's very much been developed bespoke for the Pathways to Planning programme, and it's really going to help you provide some background knowledge and understanding about planning and what a career as a planner may involve, to help you settle into work and understand the key principles of the planning system and how it operates in practice. You haven't got access to this yet. We are working on that behind the scenes, and a link will be emailed to you shortly with login details. Once you log in, you'll see there's 5 different topics that are covered, and in total, we estimate this will take you around 5 to 7 hours. Please do not try and do this all at once. It's enjoyable as it may be. And
sorry, Kat.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't see the next slide.
Oh, it's not moving on. Okay.
No. Thank you.
I think we might have lost Kat temporarily, so let me see if I can track down her slides. Wow.
I have the presentation.
Oh, have you? Can
Yes.
you present
Yep,
in
of
Teams,
course.
Lorraine? And then
Yep.
if you bring that up, then I will try to talk everyone through while we wait for Kat's Tech to rejoin us. Yeah, it's looking promising. So yeah, if you go to, I think it's slideshow, then there's an option that says present in Teams, which usually works quite well. Yeah, that one. And brilliant. Can you scroll us down to the slide we were on, and then there we go. Bit of seamless tech, isn't it, Anna, for local government. While we get there, every time I listen to Anna Rose talk about planning, I'm excited about this program again. So huge thanks, Anna. Anna's actually incredibly busy, so to have you on the call is a huge resource. So really appreciate your time. Oh, yep.
It just looks a bit funky and
it looks
very good.
No, it's all clear from our end. So I can see the slide really clearly. Thanks, Lorraine.
Okay, I can see everything else. That's why I was just worried
that
everything else was good.
No, don't worry. That's just the presenter view. So
Okay.
I don't have access to Kat's notes, but I can give you a bit of a rundown while we wait for Kat to rejoin us. So I think where Kat was taking you through is the e-learning package. Now, hopefully, I think Lorraine has been working, for those of you who gave us permission to use your email address and upload it onto our e-learning system. That was something that you needed to do for us to give you access to the e-learning. So if you've got any questions about that, then Lorraine, if you could pop the pathways.planning, or in fact, just pop your own email address into the chat. So if you have any problems with accessing the e-learning offer, then Lorraine can get you up and in there. So the e-learning offer is meant to be done in stages. It is there to be of benefit to you. So we're not looking over your shoulder, making sure you've done every assessment. We're not looking at the test scores, etc. It was designed by a consultancy to just give you a bit of an overview to planning. So Lorraine, if you can go to the next slide. Then I'm hoping there's a bit more. So yes, for those of you who haven't started the e-learning yet, these are the topics that it covers. From memory, you've got to complete a little test at the end of each topic to get to the next one. But as I say, no one is looking over your shoulder. It's not being shared with your council. It's really just there to help you test your learning as you go. Lorraine?
I just wanted to add the actual sort of welcome to your e-learning, etc., will be sent by me sometime this week after this session. So you wouldn't have received anything in terms of how to access, but everything will be sent to you by me, and all the instructions will be there. Any issues or technical issues of actually accessing your module, please send me an email as well, and I'm your go-to person on that. So I just wanted to add that as well. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Lorraine. I'd lost track of timings. So Lorraine will pop her email in the chat. And as we say, if you don't get that email from Lorraine later this week, it's because you didn't give us permission to put your email address into the e-learning software. So a boring, but we're really big on data protection, as all local governments should be. So these are the topics that the e-learning covers. It's not massively onerous. You can do it in bits and bobs of time, and I think you'll have access for 6 months. It is designed to reflect the English system. So apologies for those of you in Wales. If you've got any specific questions or concerns, then send those in and we will try and link you up with someone who can give some guidance, but hopefully you'll on the job learning will give you what you need there. Our program Pathways to Planning is about 98-99% English, which is why the e-learning just reflects the planning system in England. So Lorraine, if we can go to the next slide. So this is a little bit of what the e-learning looks like. There's a mixture of video clips just to give you a bit of that interaction, and lots of it has been designed really nicely. So it's nice and easy on the eyes. You'll see that there's things like jargon busters. So I know that when I started working on Pathways to Planning, one of Anna Rose's colleagues just wrote me a cheat sheet of acronyms so that I just couldn't keep track of all the short forms. So it's really normal. People just do it with the best intention. You know, I think one of the great things, which I know I've always heard Anna say, is, you know, especially in local government, but at the start of your career, no one expects you to know everything, and you're never going to be looked down on for asking for a clarification. In fact, mostly people will feel, oh, I'm so sorry, I really shouldn't have used that short form. So people using the acronyms tend to feel bad. And within local government, especially, I think there's a real culture of admiring and respecting people who are learning and keen to learn. So always ask the question. So yes, you'll see all of this. So we tried to have a mixture of technical information, but also just a bit of job preview. What will your job be like? What are some other areas? So some of you will be based in a very specific role in development management or planning policy or even enforcement. And hopefully the course will just give you a bit of a raising of the eyes around all the other options around you, and maybe help you make sense of what on earth other people on your team are working on, which is more challenging and takes more time to figure out than you think. But for everyone, it always takes that time. Next slide, please, Lorraine.
I'm back, Anna, if you want
Oh,
me to take
brilliant.
over.
Oh, yes, please, Kat. So
Uh,
Kat, who's the true expert, will now take over.
I'm so sorry about that. That was a spectacular crash on my behalf in that it wouldn't let me rejoin because it wouldn't let me leave. So my apologies for crashing out. And I think if we can just carry on, Lorraine, are you running the slide pack? Yeah, brilliant. So we'll just carry on as we are. I've seen in the chat whilst I was waiting, well, coming back in, there's a question about does this also relate to the Welsh planning system? So it doesn't specifically cover the Welsh planning system, but some of the key elements are the same. So, for example, the requirement to prepare a local plan, the process for determining planning applications. So I do know the policy context for Wales is different to England, but I would say that actually it's just as worth your while engaging in the course to learn the key principles and building blocks, and then you can add on your knowledge of the Welsh planning system on top of that as well. We don't go into a lot of detail about the English planning system. It's more those principal building blocks. So I would encourage you to engage in it. So this is just really the overview of what the objectives of the e-learning package are. So really to encourage you to go through the course. You'll gain a clearer understanding of how it operates. So its structure, evolution, and the underpinning legal frameworks. You explore different aspects of the planning system, so both plan making, so be that local plans that are prepared by local planning authorities, and neighbourhood development plans, which are prepared by communities. And just to note on that, neighbourhood development plans only exist in England. So that is one of the changes across our devolved nations. For those of you working in development management or who want to become more familiar with development management, there's a section on the planning application process. So you can understand the different stages and also the different stakeholders and people that are involved in those different stages as well to determine how planning applications are decided. You'll acquire strategies to navigate challenges in the early stages of your planning careers based on a series of key competencies. And I really like this bit of the training, actually. This is one of my favourite bits when I went through it. This kind of personal reflection to look at what your strengths are at the moment and then ways in which you can focus on those and kind of progress your development focused on those areas which you think potentially I hate the word weaker, but I'm going to say could be strengthened if we use that wording instead. And you'll also then be able to critically evaluate the implications of planning decisions on communities, the environment, and sustainable development. And you will hear a lot about sustainable development as you go forward in your career in planning. Next slide, please. So hopefully that's given you an overview of the e-learning course. As both Anna and I have probably said, we really do strongly encourage you to make the most of this really and engage in the course and put the time aside to do so. We've given you a deadline, an indicative deadline of when we think when we would like you to have completed the course, and that's the 12th of December. And the reason for setting that deadline is really because it's going to be most beneficial as you're at the early stages of your career. So as you're learning all these new terms and acronyms and new processes, both at university and on the job. So really it's designed to help supplement those early stages. And I think I caught Anna talk about acronyms. We love our acronyms in planning. So I'm sure Anna's already said, but if you don't have time to go through the course immediately, I would really encourage you to download the ebook. I might be repeating what you've been told, but I think it's worth reiterating anyway. So alongside the introduction to planning as a career, the online module, we also run a series of CPD seminars. So these are specific and bespoke for those of you on the Pathways to Planning programme. And they really help to deepen your knowledge of key components and aspects of the planning system through a series of what I would call kind of deep dives or focus on particular areas to understand the breadth of planning, both as a profession and also as a kind of endeavour and activity. So the first two are being planned at the moment. So we'll have one on the 29th of October, which will be delivered by one of my colleagues at PAS, and this will focus on urban design and planning, so very much a kind of placemaking focus. And then we'll have one on national significant infrastructure projects. Again, we love an acronym, NSIPs, on Tuesday, the 18th of November, and that will be delivered again by one of my colleagues at PAS. These will be recorded, so if you can't make it, don't worry. But I would encourage you to attend if you can do, just because live is always better in terms of asking questions and being able to take part in the discussion. We will be advertising these events shortly, so you need to sign up through Eventbrite like you did for this session today. So please do look out for further correspondence about these. Next slide. Alongside this, you'll also have an opportunity to meet in person. In-person learning is always preferable. For me anyway. I know it's sometimes easier online. But we organise a series of quarterly away days. So these are full day events at various councils around the country who host Pathways to Planning graduates. And they are optional. And you will need to secure the permission from your line manager to attend, and your council will also need to pay for any travel. So if you're interested in attending these, make sure you have those conversations early to give you enough time to sign up, because there are limited places on these as well. So the purpose of these away days is to give you an opportunity to meet each other, to network, and also to learn in depth about how a particular city council are tackling the planning challenges and opportunities in their area. So I think some of you have already signed up for the one that will be taking place on this Friday. So on Friday, we'll be going to Nottingham City Council with a focus there on digital planning in the morning. And then we'll have one in January and April. So don't worry, there will be other opportunities over the year. So the purpose of the day comprises a combination of training, so kind of L&D, and then a site visit to a project, so a walk around. For instance, in Nottingham, we'll go for a walk around the city centre, and then also lots of time for you to socialise and network and get to know others on the Pathways to Planning programme. We also will be hosting an in-person welcome event for you as well on the 14th of January. So please do put this date in your diary. It will just be for cohort 3. The other CPD events will be the cohort above you and your cohort, so a mix of learning experiences. But this one is bespoke for your cohort. And again, an opportunity for you to get to know each other, to network, and we'll also have some key speakers as well who can talk to you about various aspects of the programme, and that's all being planned at present. Alongside what we offer at Pathways to Planning and PAS, there are also a raft of other opportunities that various people in industry put on that you may wish to access. So as I said, planning is a very varied profession with a fast pace of change. And as a planner, there's really this process of ongoing learning to help you keep up to date. What I have done is I've pulled together a list of various organisations that deliver events and training in the form of a CPD list, and I'll circulate that alongside this presentation. What's on that list are a range of different opportunities. So there's kind of formal training, for instance, is offered by organisations like the Royal Town Planning Institute, Homes England. There's also then links to blog posts, podcasts and webinars. So learning doesn't just need to be attending in-person sessions. There are lots of different ways to learn. I myself am a particular fan of podcasts. I find it really useful to hear from different speakers talk about a topical issue. And again, I'll circulate that alongside the presentation. There's no pressure there for you to engage in this. It's very much optional, but you may find some of those resources are useful for your academic study as well. So I think that's everything from me. Do we have any questions on the Learning and Development programme?
We've just got a question in the chat, Kat, which I think might be a great one for other Anna, which is, what do you think the most important characteristic planners should embody in today's era of planning? So Anna, I'll toss you in the deep end on that one.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I'm between curiosity and empathy, really. It's one of those two, so nothing technical. Definitely the softer sides are more important at the moment, I think. At the time you're coming into planning, it would be curiosity or empathy.
I love that as an answer. And it's so interesting, isn't it, Anna? I was at a conference at the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors recently, and they were saying we have been so obsessed with teaching technical skill. Almost anyone can learn technical skill, but if people do not have strong communication skills and leadership skills and teamwork skills, then they're lost. They're at sea, and their technical skill is of no use to anyone, especially in the public sector. So I think once again, you're on the money there.
We also had a question about networks for the region. So yes, as Anna has said, there are RTPI networks in each region. There are also other networks you may want to join as well. So for instance, the Planning Officers Society have a whole range of networks. There's Women in Planning, there's Planning Out, there is BAME in Planning. All of these are listed in the CPD list. So please do have a look at that list when we circulate it, because there'll be lots and lots of opportunities for you to join various networks depending on your interests. And networking, I think, is really, really important and can be particularly useful when you're at your early stages of your career to learn from others as well. Also, a question about, will it be okay to do the e-learning course during work hours, or should it be done separately? You'll have to have a chat with your line manager about that. Each council will have probably their own procedures and processes. I would encourage you to speak to your line manager and explain that it's been designed to support you through the early stages of Pathways to Planning, and see if it's something they would support you being able to do on work time. Those of you on the master's pathway, do you need to complete an additional qualification to achieve chartership? Yes. So it's not a qualification as such, but there is a chartership process you need to go through. The best place to find information on what that looks like is on the Royal Town Planning Institute, so the RTPI's website, and that's actually both the apprenticeship and the masters. You will finish your course with the educational qualification that will enable you to apply for a chartership through a particular route, but you still need to go through that chartership process. So do have a look on the RTPI website for that. Difference between RTPI and RICS. I'm not familiar with, there we go, Anna's answered
I'm
it.
happy
Brilliant.
to take that one. Yeah.
Thank you.
So all of you on the planning strand, so for cohorts 1, 2, and 3 of Pathways to Planning, then everybody will be studying on an RTPI. So RTPI is the Royal Town Planning Institute. So they're the membership body. They deal with the accreditation of university courses, the accreditation of the Chartered Town Planner Apprenticeship, and then when you get to that personal accreditation process, they also run that. So they are the accrediting body for individuals and universities as well. So all of you will have to be studying on a fully accredited course by the RTPI. In our next round, so cohort 4, those who will start recruiting today, then our program is expanding. So we will be running a planning strand, but also a surveying strand. And that's been the work that I've been doing with the RICS, which is the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. Now, there are a small number of you who will be on a jointly accredited course. Don't worry about it. It can only be a good thing. I think, and maybe Anna Rose would know more, I think that at the end you probably have the ability to then go into accreditation at RTPI and or RICS. So
Yeah.
they both have, it's not for the faint of heart to do both of those. It'd probably be a realistically probably a 2-year process of going through each of those accreditation processes, but having that jointly accredited degree means that you can do one, the other, or both. Don't worry if that's not you. If you want to be a planner, then working towards that RTPI accreditation is the main piece of the puzzle, and why you're all on an accredited degree that sets you up for that equally. So yeah, don't worry about the RICS unless that's a particular interest of yours. We can definitely pick that up over the next couple of years. Hope that helps.
Thanks, Anna. Lorraine, you had your hand up.
Yeah, we've got a question via Slido. When will the January location be confirmed? Is it unreasonable to ask my council to fund travel to London from the northeast? this has come from like anonymously. I was just wondering if that person can actually message me, and I will answer that question if that's okay. So I put my email address already on there about e-learning, but if you've not seen that because everything's all moved up, I'm just going to put my email address again in there. And if you can pop me an email about travel expenses, I'll be able to get back to you directly. Thank you.
Thanks, Lorraine. As a general rule of thumb, in case it's helpful for people to know, those of you who are studying on an apprenticeship course, your council has been given a pot of money to help fund your travel to campus and to learning events and to any other learning opportunities. That's because your qualification is paid for through the apprenticeship levy, so they didn't need any help paying for course fees. So if anyone is on an apprenticeship course, your council does have a pot of money at the disposal. You still need line manager approval to attend our learning events, but there's definitely cash in the bank, as it were, for your travel to and from events. For those of you studying on a part-time master's degree, then your councils will need to pay and have agreed to pay your travel to and from the University of Study. For the Pathways learning events, it's a little bit more of a conversation. There might be some financial restrictions within the council. If the council is really unable to pay for your travel, but they are happy to release you from your work for the day to attend, then Lorraine's the one to get in touch. We do have a bit of discretionary spend. We can't pay for you to go to every single event, but we could probably cover one or two in the year. It is your council's responsibility to look at that seriously first. So please do ask your line manager. If you're on an apprenticeship, they definitely have the money to pay for it. If you're on a part-time master's, then ask the question. And if you'd really like to go and the council's in, a spending freeze or can't do any discretionary spend, then contact Lorraine and we'll see what we can do. The more advance notice you can give us on that, the better. And any expenses that we refund have to, rather boringly, abide by our expenses policy. So you can't travel first class or fly in an airplane, which is usually not a problem, is it?
Thank you. And in terms of when it's going to be confirmed, I'm working on it at the moment. So hopefully over the next couple of weeks, we do try and give as much advance notice as we can do. Brilliant. So I think now we're going to hear from Tilly. Are you there, Tilly?
Yeah. Hi.
Yeah. Perfect. Great. So I'm just going to hand over to Tilly, and she can tell us about our top tips and how what to expect and how to make the most of Pathways to Planning based on her experience.
Okay. Shall I share my screen?
Would that be easier rather than Lorraine running it for you?
Possibly. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are,
I don't mind. Shall we go? I'm happy to kind of for you to sort of say next slide. So
Okay. Yep.
it's up to you, whatever you're sort of most comfortable with.
Yeah.
Shall I start the slide now? Okay.
Yeah. Also,
Thanks,
the
Tilly.
lights are on a sensor in here, so if they go out, I'll just have to quickly
Just
move
wait
around a
for-
bit. So hi, I'm Tilly. I'm a trainee graduate planning officer at Sheffield City Council, and I'm part of cohort 1 of Pathways to Planning. Next slide, please. So about me, sorry, there's quite a lot of clicking with this. So I'm a trainee graduate planning officer at Sheffield City Council. I was raised in Somerset and I now live in Greater Manchester, and I commute to Sheffield, which isn't as bad as it sounds. It's quite a nice train journey. So my educational background, I did a BA in International Relations and Politics, and then an MA in International Public and Political Communication at the University of Sheffield. And after graduating, I worked for a PR and communications agency, and I started there in 2022. And I joined the Pathways Planning Scheme as part of cohort 1 in May 2024, which means I'm due to finish the scheme in May 2027. And then I chose Pathways Planning for a number of reasons. So the public relations company that I worked for before I started on Pathways Planning specialised in built environment, and that had a lot to do with planning and developers and stakeholders, and I was really interested by that sort of side of things. And then I have friends that work within local authority planning, and they were all sort of super passionate about their jobs and were really sort of into it and like couldn't stop talking about it. And I was just like, it must be really good. But I sort of thought that I'd missed the opportunity, like I wouldn't be able to sort of fund another degree, and I thought I'd sort of missed the boat until I saw an email advertising the scheme, and I thought it looked like the perfect opportunity. Sorry, I said about the lights. There we go, I'm back. I just really liked that Pathways Planning provided you with the opportunity to experience all of the various roles available in local authority planning. I thought it was a really good way to sort of figure out where your interests might lie and what your skills would support. And I also really like that everyone has different backgrounds, skills, and knowledge on the scheme. So that means that, like, when you're networking and when you're meeting people within your cohort, you sort of get to see sort of different perspectives and that kind of thing, and get to like build up a really strong network with people from all different backgrounds. So my experience with Pathways Planning, first I'll focus on sort of the role. So in terms of placements, I started in strategic planning, which is also known as policy, and I began there in June 2024 and was there for a year until July 2025. As part of that, I got to experience a local plan examination. So Sheffield is currently undergoing its local plan examination process. So we're currently in the process of government inspectors inspecting the plan we've produced to ensure it's sort of sound and fits with national policy. And so I've got to sort of prepare documents for that, do research, and attend hearings as part of that examination. I've also got to be a part of public consultation events and the public consultation process to ensure sort of the communities are involved with things to do with the local plan. And I also supported the Housing and Economic Land Availability Assessment, also known as a HELA, which I sort of went out on site visits to ensure that, so that we could count sort of completions, how many sites were under construction, so that we can submit that information to government. And then currently I'm Design Conservation and Trees team. So I started there in July 2025 and I'll be there until January. And this is sort of quite a different placement, but it's really interesting. So I've done character area assessments to help developers understand sort of the character of the area and what sort of development we're looking for, design principles, street art guidance, which I really enjoyed, as that was, so I've helped sort of put together some guidance for people who are interested in sort of producing street art within Sheffield, and conservation area appraisals and management plans. I've supported on this and helped some of the consultants working on this. So that's been really exciting. And then after that, in January 2026, I will move to regeneration for 6 months, which this is sort of varies council to council, but in Sheffield, regeneration is actually sits outside of planning, but I know in some councils they sort of sit together. So I feel quite lucky that I get to experience regeneration, considering technically they're not planning at Sheffield. And then finally, I'll be in DM and enforcement for the last year. And then the other side of my Pathways Planning experience is university. So I'm currently doing an MSc in planning at the University of Manchester. So I'm doing the master's route rather than the degree apprenticeship route. And I'm currently at the start of my second and final year. I've done a whole array of modules, and we'll be doing some of these modules as well. And they're sort of a really good range. I'm doing Future Cities one at the moment, and that's quite interesting. And I also really enjoyed the Urban and Regional Policy one because that fit quite well with with my placement at the time. So that's always something to think about when you're choosing modules. If you sort of do get to select optional modules, think about sort of how they might fit in with with your work and with your placements. And then some top tips. I would say, ask lots of questions, especially if you don't understand something. There aren't any like silly questions, and people are always willing to sort of answer your questions. Say yes to as many opportunities as you can. I've spoken at a panel for a MHCLG event, and a founding member of the Planning Network, which I will get onto in a minute, because of just saying yes to opportunities. Plan your time well and consider where challenging times might be. I know Kat said about this earlier, but it's always good to know sort of when your assessments and deadlines are coming up, let your line manager know. Don't be afraid to ask for specific placements, or if they're not available, you can always ask if you can see if there are any shadowing opportunities, or you could talk to the Pathways planning team and see if there's any way that they could run a learning and development session on it. There's lots of opportunities to try and learn more about specific areas. Then keep track of your projects and tasks, as this will come in really helpful in the future for your CV and future interviews, and also when it comes to getting chartered, as you'll have all the evidence there that you need. If you don't have a mentor within your council, see if you can ask or request a mentor and be proactive in arranging meetings with them. It's really useful, and that one-to-one time can sort of ensure you have the opportunities to shape your experience and discuss elements that you might not understand. Keep an eye on good resources. So I know Kat said that she liked podcasts, so Room 106 is a good podcast, but there's also The Planner, and Lichfield's Planning Matters blog is my personal favourite. I feel like they do really interesting short blog posts on a really wide range of topics. And then attend as many Pathways planning networks and planning network events as you can. It's a really good way to network and also meet people in the cohort and sort of enhance each other's understanding and just sort of make friends. And finally, get involved with the planning network. So the next slide, please. The Planning Network, we're a group who are formed to run both learning and development opportunities and social events for those on the Pathways to Planning scheme and also the Impact scheme. So we run a range of events, including virtual coffee mornings, in-person social events, and virtual and in-person learning and development events. And follow our Instagram to hear about our upcoming events and get to know the team. We haven't really developed our Instagram fully yet, but it is there. I think the link should, well, not the link, but the handle should be about to come up. And it's just, yeah, it's still in progress, but that's where we'll be posting about all our upcoming events. So it'll be a really good way to find out about what we're up to and what we've got planned.
Just to add, Tilly, sorry, I'm just going to mention this only because I've been working on this and now this has been passed on to my colleague. We do have all these networks in our newsletter. So keep an eye out on sort of any events happening in around the different networks. So I thought I'd just sort of give you a plug on that, Tilly, but thank you. I hope I've done, I feel that we were in sync so well. It's like I was mind reading you at one point.
It was really, really good, I have to say.
That's great. Thank you so much, Tilly. That was really interesting. I'm conscious of time, so what I'm going to do, if that's okay, is pass on to Matt, and then we'll pick up any questions at the end just to make sure that you all have time to hear Matt's experiences as well. But thank you, Tilly.
Thanks, Kat. Yep, I'm Matt, and firstly, congratulations to all of you, and welcome to the scheme. I am a graduate planning assistant at Telford and Wrekin, and for the majority of you that have no idea where that is, it's that no man's land between Birmingham and the Welsh border that you will probably never visit. But yes, next slide, please. Again, we can just skip past this. We know what's going to be discussed. But in my background, so going a step further back at A levels, I did economics, history, and geology, and then decided between geology and history as a degree, and did history and international relations. A very specific dissertation, as you can see, that obviously relates heavily to planning. And then more professionally, I worked in retail, like I'm sure a lot of you have. During COVID, I was a vaccine coordinator. Coming out of university, looked relentlessly for jobs. We all know how the job market is now. Looked at grad schemes, saw a new grad scheme called Pathways to Planning, had an investigate, saw the opportunities they gave and how I could work in my hometown and how I could work with heritage, which interested me from the history background, and thought I'd apply. And here we are now, a year and a half into the scheme, and I'd like to think doing quite well. Next slide, please. So in my work, I started as a validation officer, and on day one, like I'm sure with a lot of you, you're doing real work. It's not work that sort of is designed for pure training. You're doing impactful work. So I started in validation, which was, help me understand what a planning application was, what comes in with a planning application. And then after that, I dived straight into being a planning officer, which means you start getting your own applications and your own caseload where you assess them and you make the scary decisions on them, which are not so scary once you really get to grips with everything and you realize the support network you've got. I've also worked in planning policy like Tilly has, and on day one, they gave me the 212-page draft local plan and said, read that, see what you think of it, come back with any grammatical things or if none of it makes sense. So that was a great first day. And again, that's just a reflection of the work you do makes a difference. Everything you do really adds up. I'm currently in enforcement, which is almost the other side of the coin, where we're investigating people that potentially have breached planning. Again, very interesting. People skills help a lot with that. And overall, what you'll see is there's so many little cogs and so many different teams all working together for one outcome. And it's been touched upon by virtually everyone that it's making a difference to your community. And no matter what team you work in, you'll be impacting your community. Next slide, please. So the benefits of a non-planning degree is you come with a completely new perspective. My history and international relations perspective is different from somebody that might have done a planning undergrad degree, and that is extremely beneficial. And you shouldn't come in being shy, thinking that because you're new and you came from a different background, that means you're not qualified to speak out, tables. Absolutely not. You come in, you are qualified. That's why you're here. You're very capable. That's why you're here. So please do discuss and give your opinions on things. Adjusting to the role, and this includes university as well. It's very cliche, but try not to stress. Everyone joined their team and had their first day where they thought, what am I doing here? How have I got here? And, we all survive essentially. And again, everyone does ask questions, even the most principled and senior planners. They'll ask questions to everyone because the beauty of planning is nobody knows everything because it's constantly changing. So ask questions and just go for it. Next slide, please. So the tips to get the most out of your role. The biggest thing, in my opinion, is on the personal side, it's not all about work benefiting from you. You've also got to benefit from your work. So if there's opportunities you want to explore, please just go for it because it's all about you being developed as a person. So don't make it all a one-sided relationship between you and work. If you need help as well, always ask, and that's anyone on the Pathways to Planning, more senior cohorts, anyone at university. There's always help at every step. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, absolutely talk to someone about it and enjoy the change. It's a very unique situation to start a new job and to start a master's at the same time, and it is difficult, but that just means it's rewarding. And in terms of professional, understand the big picture, understand the work you're doing, so you can actually derive joy out of it, and you can be proud of what you're doing, because what the work you will be doing will impact thousands of people. Embrace the work life, so that includes working from home, but I really do advise going into the office fairly regularly to see your colleagues, because that does help a lot with relationships. And absolutely don't be scared to, again, look for opportunities that benefit you. And in terms of just overall development, people have touched upon it, but join professional bodies. There's so many learning materials there. And again, that comes with networking, and things like LinkedIn are so important, because you never know when you're going to meet somebody you've met before, and that might lead to something else. And before you know it, you're doing work that interests you more, and it just snowballs. And as Tilly said, just be curious. Say yes. If your manager says, I've got to jump out of this meeting to attend another meeting, but you like the sound of that meeting, ask to attend it, because 99% of the times the answer will be yes. Next slide, please. And again, this is just a copy of the same slide as Tilly's. Please feel free to interact with the planning network. We are in the process of developing more things to help the scheme. And yeah, that's it really. Again, just congratulations, and try and enjoy it. Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry,
That's
Matt.
great.
I got a bit carried away.
That's okay.
Sorry.
That's great. Thank you very much, Matt and Tilly, both of you, for sharing your experiences. I think it's really fantastic to have you both to talk to our new cohort, because you were in their shoes a year ago. So hopefully you all found that useful. Please do keep putting any questions in the chat. We have got a couple more minutes, and I'm just going to pick up on one theme that seems to be coming through, which is, okay, you've got all these learning and development opportunities for us. Well, how do we find out about them? The LGA, they will distribute a monthly newsletter, and that will contain information about upcoming CPD, and I will also be emailing you separately as well. To attend any events, you have to sign up on Eventbrite. If you receive an invite, there's a next step of signing up. It's not that you've received the information then you're on. You do need to go through Eventbrite and actually book your place. We do know that the number of places at the away days are limited. And as Anna has said, me and Lorraine will go away and have a look at how we can distribute that evenly. But it is a first come, first serve. So if you are interested, please do make sure that you're expressing that interest as early as you can do. And we are looking at geographic coverage as well, so they're not all going to be held in one location, to try and make it easy for you to attend. But you don't need to attend all of them. There's no expectation that you're attending for every year. We've got a question here, so a few more are coming through in the chat. How does studying work during uni holidays? Should we get the day off work to do uni work? If you're on the degree apprenticeship, then you have what we call day release. It sounds awful, but that's what we call it, throughout the year. So you should be giving time off during the holidays to progress with your university course. If you're on the master's degree, you need to have a chat with your line manager and just see how that works with them. So do get those conversations in early. As both Tilly and Matt have also said, it can be really useful to discuss deadlines with your line manager, so you can map any peaks of work at university alongside peaks of work and potentially at your job role. So please do have those early conversations and see how your employer operates. And then I think there's a question here for you and for Matt and Tilly, actually, about when you're rotating. How have you found that with the split from working from home and office working? How have you kind of got to grips with that, potentially with more home working in play?
So I think mainly it's just sort of like, make sure you know when your team are coming into the office, so that you can sort of align with that. So most teams will have like a specific office day, at least at my council, and so I always make sure I'm in for that day. And then also just sort of making sure regular contact, maybe mark what days you're planning on coming into the office in your calendar, so that other people know. But yeah, that just sort of clear communication, I would say, is the easiest way to ensure. And sort of don't be afraid to just message somebody or call somebody if you feel like you need some guidance or some help.
Thanks, Tilly.
Yeah, I mirror what Tilly said. Virtually every council will have a dedicated day where the whole team is in, and that really helps sitting next to somebody where you can just ask them face to face any queries you have. I think most teams as well across every council will have the facilities to be in the office every day, whether that's the same office or a different building. So you can usually go into the office every day if you feel you're that sort of worker where you benefit from the social side of it. And just to touch upon Michelle's question in the chat as well, I think the team that is most enriching for your own development, I think the best way to approach that is have a one-to-one with your line manager and just be transparent with them and ask them, I'm starting fresh here. What team can I almost learn the most with, where they can show me the ropes and I can just be eased in? And yeah, it really depends what role they envisage you having in the next few years. So just have that conversation with your line manager.
Fantastic. And I think you're going to hear that a lot from us at Pathways to Planning. Talk to your line manager. Every council is unique. Every council operates in different ways and they have different kind of demands and constraints as well. So there is not kind of one size fits all across local authorities, and experiences on Pathways to Planning will differ as well. So please, if you have any questions or concerns about sort of managing your university course or how it's going to work for you on rotation within your council, make sure you reach out to your line manager and have a chat with them as soon as you can.
Yeah, just to supplement that, and I think sometimes this can be legitimately confusing, but sometimes it's helpful to think of the Pathways to Planning team as a bit of a headhunter. So we went out and we found you and we linked you up with the council who now are your employer. And we're on the side cheering them on with best practice and with additional opportunities and support, but they are your employer. And so for some authorities, they have hired you to fill a very specific role. That's what they need, and that's where the salary was tied. What they have committed to in principle is to providing you with varied work experience. But for some of you, that might always be shadowing, attending extra meetings, short-term placements, things like that. For other councils, they have organised work across a rotating placement. So someone like Matt is probably quite unusual in having been in 8 different teams in such a short space of time. But that in itself might be the council's way of meeting specific needs or specific projects at certain points in time. So hopefully you got a good idea at interview stage what the council had to offer in terms of whether it was a specific role or a rotation. If you're not clear on that, as we say, chat with the line manager. Sometimes I'll get someone saying to me, well, can't you tell my council to give me a rotation? And I can't. So if you're not getting any varied experience, I can have a word with them and say, remember, this is within the ethos of the program, etc. And we can work with them to define what that looks like. But ultimately, that's why we say your line manager is the person with the authority. They're the best placed person to, enable you, change anything, support you, etc. We're really here as that additional support and guidance rather than people who have the authority to dictate, what you're working on in your council. So hopefully that's clear and helpful. But again, if anyone's got concerns, if you're talking to your line manager and things aren't going well, or you're just not sure where to go, then you can always get in touch with us, and we're really happy to help you in that process.
That's great. Thank you very much. I'm conscious of time and it is lunchtime as well. So I imagine there's some very hungry people on the call. So I'm going to wrap it up there. As I said, we will be circulating the recording. I'll circulate the slide pack, list of CPD opportunities, and then links to things that I've picked up on the chat as well. So do look out for that further email from me, and do keep your eye out over the next few months as well about the exciting learning and development opportunities that we have available for you. We'll send out a link to the e-learning module as well over the next couple of days. Keep your eyes peeled for that as well. So thank you all for your time and for joining today. I hope you found it useful, and thank you to all the speakers. It's been really great to have so much varied experience in the room. I'm going to be really cheesy and ask us all to give a round of applause. So either real hands or virtual hands, or both. It's great. Thank you very much for your time, and have a good afternoon, and I look forward to seeing you all soon.